everybody, to the Evolution Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Kramer from Evergreen Foundations, with my co-host.
Christina Joy from To Clarity Lab.
And today we have an awesome guest who has done multiple events in Evergreen Foundations, been on the podcast a couple times, from Hope Reimagined Rooted, Susan Andrian. How's it going, Susan? How are you today?
I am great. I'm really excited to be here. I'm really excited to talk with you all. And, it's school just got out. Today was the last day of school in Oakland. So, there's lots of celebration over here.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. Our high school, my kids' high school is building a new football field. They've had to lay off 3 teachers because they don't have enough money, but we're building a new football field. That's for a different topic,
Different
for a different
funds.
day.
They come from different pots.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Yeah. So because of that, they're building this huge complex. They exited school like 3 weeks early for my kids. So everyone's jealous of my kids' school because they're like, "Oh yeah, you guys can't be around here anymore."
Wow.
So wait, they ended classes for the kids 3 weeks early, and they can't hire teachers
Yeah.
all for a football field.
Yep. We got a
That's
new sporting complex for a team that wins like 2 games a year, but we can't afford to
this
pay
sounds
teachers
like
for our school
If
district.
we want
I
to, I
mean,
mean, I could go, I could talk about school budget and finance, and I actually have a good, if that is a direct, because it is crazy. School
Wild.
budgets and financing are nuts. And I have a good friend that might come to the Evergreen. She did her PhD at Stanford in educational finance, and she looks at all this crazy stuff all the time.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then obviously, like we're a small town, so obviously there's like a whole Facebook page dedicated to this, and like there's parents like all day long, and obviously then you got the non-parents are like, my
Right.
taxes shouldn't go towards this, and like your taxes don't even touch that. Get out of
Well,
here.
my first question is how do they reach their instructional minutes? But that feels like another conversation. There's like a
Yeah,
law
yeah,
that
that's a
requires a
rabbit
certain
hole.
number of instructional
uh-huh.
minutes that does not sound like they are meeting. But that's where I might go in that direction. But anyway, that is a
Yeah, and hey, I was awesome. I didn't even mention the school district. So there we go.
there you go. That's good.
um,
Probably good
so
for a tornado.
this is super cool because you've been on with Dinka and I when Dinka Salvador from
Hmm.
Trinity Code hosted with me, and now it's your first time you get to talk to my squirrel buddy Joy. So that's super cool.
Yay.
Um, in Foundations today, you mentioned something that you wanted to talk about today that really intrigued me, and that was somatic integration.
Hmm.
When you coming from like a neuroscience nerd, I think I know what that means, but what does that mean coming from you?
Yeah, so to kind of back it up a little bit, I've developed a framework called the Neurosomatic Integration Framework. And the neuroscience piece of it comes from a lot of the training that I have with Dr. Bruce Perry, with ARC, which is the attachment regulation capacity building model. So these models of neurodevelopmental physiological approach to working with children. And that was sort of the core that has made up a big part of my clinical work. And nature's always been a part. I've always taken kids into nature. I've taken kids backpacking and camping and out into nature as part of my clinical work from the very beginning, but didn't really have the science to understand what was happening, why kids were so different when I took them into nature than they were just like in the therapy room or at school. And then more recently, I've been training in somatics. And somatics is a big umbrella. And I think, Christina and I were having a little bit starting to dip our toe into it. And somatics, so many things falls under the category of somatics. Yoga, Tai Chi, dance. Soma means the body, right? So the word somatic means of the body. And in when our current education system, most of our psychology, all comes from this moment in history when we separated the mind from the body in early 1900s, right? And so if you look at indigenous cultures across the world, they never separated the body from anything. It was one. The body and the mind are connected and also are connected with nature. So we don't operate separately, and we as a culture and as an intellectual exercise to make sense of what's happening, created these fake separations of like mind, body, nature, relationship, our world. So a neurosomatic integration framework looks at really I took these three core lineages of training. I've trained with the Strozzi Institute of Somatics, which is here in California and Petaluma, but trains folks all over the world in somatics. And that comes out of Aikido and martial arts background. So Richard Strozzi was a martial artist and a psychologist in the 60s and started to look at what was happening for his clients and also taking his learning from understanding like chi and what was happening in the body and how to use energy in ways for fighting and was like, hey, I wonder what happens if we shift this to healing and to trauma and to what is happening for the folks that I'm working with in my clinical practice. And so we started to explore that pretty deeply. And over the last 50, 60 years, he's developed this model called the Strozzi Somatics. And he has the Strozzi Institute of Somatics. He has several books. Highly encourage people checking it out. Um, and what there's the aliveness. So somatics really focuses on where is the energy, where are we alive? Where is that aliveness? And where does it get cut off or stuck in our bodies? And it usually comes through conditioned tendencies. So early in our lives or somewhere along our journey, we learn ways to condition how we approach with our aliveness, ways that we organize to keep ourselves safe generally. Like what is it? What do I need to do? How do I need to cut myself off or change my shape? We call it really a shape. How do I create a shape that will help me survive the current conditions that I'm in? So through that shaping, it helps us survive what we need to survive, but then it becomes dysfunctional over time. And so in the model of somatics and in the model specifically around the neurosomatic integration is like looking at what is the physiology in our body, stress response, cortisol, like really just understanding on the science level what is physically happening in our body, where is blood flow being diverted from the thinking part of the brain, fight, flight, freeze response, you know, all of the growing body of research around what happens to stress. And then through somatics, it's looking at, okay, so what are the ways that we've conditioned? What are we practicing in our lives that has helped us survive? And how, if it's not serving us, how can we unearth that and create better ways to reshape the way we show up in the world to be aligned with what we care about, what we're longing for, what we're working towards. So we identify what am I committed to? I'm a commitment to changing my current shape, and this is the shape I want to be in. This is my automatic response under pressure. I automatically appease. I automatically am towards. I automatically over effort. I automatically try and make you comfortable. I automatically make myself small, or I automatically go to anger. So we have these ways in which we have really practiced automatic responses under pressure. What somatics does is help us start to be aware of those automatic responses and to start to cultivate new ways of responding. And so we're working towards transformation that allows us to take new actions under the same old pressure that are aligned with what we care about, what our purpose is, and what our values are. So that's kind of in a nutshell. And in taking that core training and then the understanding the physiology and then just really knowing the science behind what happens when we're in nature, when we slow down, when we allow our senses to lead us, when we get to that flow state, that creates more space and more awareness. And I believe it speeds up the reshaping process or the reorganizing process. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. But soma means body. That's really what it means. So somatics means of the body.
I've always connected with the way that you really take nature into it. It's where I find peace. I'm all over the place with emotions and stress and have been my whole life. And it's one of the places where I really do find like I can calm down, I can put things away. We like to
Mhm.
go foraging and I like to be like
Mhm.
by water. I don't think there's anything better. In the summer, I don't wear shoes if I don't have to. Like if you
Yeah.
don't have a sign, no shoes, no shirt, no service, I'm not wearing shoes. Like I get looks, I
Yeah.
walk down the street, like I'll go for walks, like I don't wear shoes. And here in Wisconsin, it's a little weird. I'm probably like the guy that does that. So I'm sure I'm sure people talk about the barefooted guy that goes on his walk.
Yeah.
But it's just a place where I feel connected and not all over the place, nervous system wise. So I've always
Yeah.
connected with that, and I don't have a question here at all. I
Yeah,
actually
well, I think the
lost
earthing
track of
piece,
what
the like going barefoot, there's a growing body of science and research around what happens when you walk barefoot or with shoes that don't separate you from the earth, that the magnetic, that it actually decreases inflammation, that it there's a lot of growing science around going barefoot. I happen to run a camp in Martha's Vineyard in the summer. I'm on the East Coast. And before I ever got there, the kids, nobody wears shoes. The whole camp is barefoot. That's getting less and less because of ticks, honestly. And the ticks are really scary, so more kids are wearing shoes at this point. But it kind of tripped me out that first summer that I was running the camp. I'm like, so the kids don't wear shoes? And they're like, nope. Like, really? We just let them run around? What if they stub their toe? Well, we give them some ice.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that, so I live in Florida and there are all sorts of things on the ground.
Yeah.
And there are like all the different types of worms too that you just like step on them and it can get in there and all the bugs and all the bite and stuff. I actually really like to be barefoot outside, but I'm so conditioned being
Hmm.
here that I won't do it. Like I
Yeah.
have such a hard time being barefoot outside because I'm like, I know I'm gonna end up like with some foot disease from some bug on the ground or something that I step on or
I'm
so
more
I'm
worried
just,
about the little terror weapons that Susan just brought up. The ticks around here are bad.
Oh,
I
here
actually in
too,
the woods
yeah.
I wouldn't go barefoot anymore.
Yeah.
We have
Yeah.
Lyme is so prevalent in
Well,
this area of northeastern Wisconsin where I am. And now we have that whole new alpha
the
gal
alpha
syndrome,
gall.
alpha gal to
Oh,
worry about now
Yeah.
is
So Martha's Vineyard, the people that live there year round, 25% of the children that go to Martha's Vineyard public schools have alpha gall right now.
whoa, that is massive.
Yeah.
how many of those probably had it 10 years ago?
None. The alpha gall was not there 10 years ago. Alpha gall probably came on to, I mean, Lyme disease Lyme has been a huge tick-borne disease. And
Decades. Yeah,
for
that's been
for
around for
a
a long
very
time.
long time, and Martha's Vineyard has been a huge issue, the islands and Cape Cod. But alpha gall, I think, was maybe 6, 7 years ago were the first few cases, and last year it just ex the last couple of years it just exploded. If you go out to a restaurant in Martha's Vineyard, they have a whole alpha gall. Many restaurants have their own alpha gall menu because it's that prevalent.
This scares me, especially because
Wow.
yeah, that's not great news.
Yeah, not great
It's
news. I mean, it's not really somatic, but it affects our nervous system. It's part of it.
hey, this
Totally.
is
It's of the body.
It's
yeah,
of the body,
Totally.
that's for
Yeah.
sure.
and this is kind of the direction we wanted to. We're going to this podcast anyway. Get some awesome people together and just talk. We don't have to have a rigid. Let's just talk about certain subjects, right? But uh man, the tick thing is scary for when you say body, right? Because
Yep.
if nobody knows alpha gal, what we're talking about, when this tick bites you, and it only has to be when I was a kid, I remember we worried about ticks getting under our skin. Like if the
Right.
tick got under your skin, like you worried about that. But if it was just on you, man, we were just picking them off, right? Now that's not even like, okay. They're
Mhm.
saying anywhere from 5 minutes to 30 minutes, this tick bites you and you get alpha gal, which then means that dairy, animal products, beef, chicken, like
Mammalian. It's any
any
mammalian.
mammal products, you will be violently uh, allergic to, like EpiPen, maybe not even make it to that point allergic to. And the scary thing is it's not a right away thing. and why it's hard to diagnose sometimes. So it's not like you get the bite, the enzymes from the tick go into your system. Now you can't break down proteins like you used to, and you get really sick. Your body rejects it. So not only that, but once they bite you and that enzyme's in, it doesn't happen right away. So it might happen like 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later. That enzyme finally, there's enough in your system or your body just rejects all mammals. So you can't just be like, oh no, I got bit by a tick. Now I have this. I better be prepared. You might not even know you have it.
Yeah.
And then a cheeseburger puts you in an anaphylactic shock.
Yeah.
That's the
And
scary part.
these ticks are called the North Star ticks, and they
Lone
are
Star tick. They're Lone
Lone
Star tick, and they got a
Star ticks, and
white,
they're teeny, teeny, teeny. They're very little.
really teeny, and they have a white dot on their back. Um,
I'm looking it up. I'm like, do
Yeah,
we
it's
have these in Florida
really
right
not.
now?
they're going everywhere.
They're going everywhere. Yeah.
Mm.
I won't say any names, but I have my suspicions where this started from, and there's some people that are connected to some fake meat labs, and all kinds of stuff. That yeah, I mean, Lyme disease was made on an island, Plum Island, from the CIA. So why would this be different?
Hmm.
Oh,
I'm
ooh,
that guy, so don't
yeah.
don't put my tinfoil hat on because we'll go that way
Yeah,
quick.
I don't know. I don't know about that, but I know my dad had a few other tick-borne. He had ambiciosis a couple times, which is another tick-borne disease.
Yeah.
And anyway, it's be careful out there. Pay attention. Lyme
Lemon.
disease now, if you get bit and you get a red bullseye, at least on the in Martha's Vineyard, because they're so used to it, you just go to the doctor, and if you have a red bullseye, they'll automatically give you doxy, which is they can treat it now, but they cannot
Yeah.
treat alcohol.
Alpha-gal they cannot. No, Lyme is getting better. I've known a few people who have got it, and then yeah, they've had that, and it cleared up pretty good. So that's
There's
huge
hope.
news. Yeah,
Okay.
and not that we should be freaking out and like we go outside all the time, right?
Yeah.
There's ways to work around it. We're also natural medicine, herbal medicine. It's all over the place. Guess what ticks hate? Oregano. They're not huge fans of lemongrass. If you
Tea
use
tree,
tea tree,
lemongrass.
lemongrass, oregano oil. I've been watching some videos where people put drops on a piece of paper and then see which ones work the best. And it seems like tea tree and oregano oil and mixed with a little lemongrass and some water, spray it on your shoes when you go outside. They don't even go buy it.
Yeah.
They want nothing to do with it.
So they sell that spray everywhere, and I work with a company called Oh Dear, which comes and sprays my whole campus with tea tree oil and lemongrass and rosemary.
Wow.
Nice.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that it's getting normal again
Yeah.
to do the herbs and the oils.
Hmm.
Remember, even like 10 years ago, people were like, oh, here come the crazy oil ladies and stuff. They're like, I used to hear that all the time because my aunt sold essential oils for one of those companies. And people would say, like, oh, yeah, sure, natural stuff. Now you're seeing way more people get it.
Hmm.
You're seeing
Hmm.
way more people see that herbs and natural remedies. You see, meditation and Tai Chi and all the things you talk about don't sell for big pharma, but they
Yeah. I mean,
work.
I think we're at an interesting I I I try and figure out where we are in the time continuum of this crazy moment in history of like where we're going, and it feels like we're sort of moving very fast in two different directions around um reconnecting with the indigeneity and the land, and like recognizing how dysfunctional we are in relationship to tech and relationship to consumerism and all of the things. And I'm hopeful, and I'm an optimist, so I recognize that. But I do feel like we're at a very critical moment in our culture where people are longing for something different. And I think that longing is at the root of both ends of this. It's at the root of other people seeking something different in ways that I totally disagree with. But I think that why that is happening is because we're all feeling that disconnection. We're all feeling that like I work so hard and I still don't have enough. I buy so much can I swear?
Yeah.
Yeah, shit, yeah.
I buy so much shit and I feel like I have nothing.
Yeah, it's true.
And yeah, so I feel that ties really well into the neurosomatic integration because I do think what we're trying to do is to get to the root of
Hmm.
why people feel a longing, why we're at a critical mass for mental health disorders for youth, why we're seeing depression and anxiety at a higher rate in young people than we ever have. Because there is this disconnection from our bodies. There is this disconnection from each other. There is this disconnection from the land. And when we create the space, we reconnect with our bodies, we reconnect with each other, and we reconnect with the land, we feel good. We feel
Hmm.
hope. We feel joy. We
Hmm.
dance.
I think I would go out on a limb and say our bodies, even at young, are being hijacked. The
Absolutely.
food, the chemicals, the dopamine from the screen time. I mean, our bodies are being hijacked.
Yep.
We don't know. We're losing. We're control is stolen from us
Yeah.
early on when we're getting I again, I'll keep the tinfoil hat off as much as I can for these episodes. But you go back all the way to the beginning when children are receiving certain things at birth and all the way up. We are
Yeah.
getting chemicals put into our bodies our
Yep.
whole lives. And then now, 2 year olds, 3 year olds are having hours of screen time a day that is just destroying their development, their mind, their bodies. So our
Hmm.
bodies are being hijacked by commercialism, convenience, so much more. And
Hmm.
when people like you and many others that we come in contact, right? Like look at just our communities and stuff. When we understand that, hey, these things like focusing on my breath every day can have
Yeah.
a huge effect on my life. And now I don't need these things I was relying on.
Right. Planet.
Meditating, all this stuff. Like when you realize that you can take your health in your own hands and you understand how to listen to your body
Hmm.
and you take care and nurture your body, I think then we can get it back. But yeah, in my opinion, it's completely hijacked from us.
Yeah. There's one of the places I take folks forest bathing in the redwoods, one of my favorite spots. And there are two different wilderness schools out there, early childhood wilderness schools, kids between the ages of like, my guess is around 2.5 to 5. And they're out there every day. Their parents drop them off. The teachers pick them up near the parking lot. They roll their little carts down into the redwoods and they just play in the woods all day long. They have lunch there. They
Wow.
take naps there. They are just in the woods all day long, year round. I mean, are in the Bay Area, so it's not so it doesn't get super hot and it doesn't get super cold. So we're lucky if you're dressed right. But these kids are just I sit there and watch them and they have so much imagination. They have so much creativity. They are so embodied. They are so just in their fantasy play with each other. They're not fighting, they don't have like the same kind of conflict. They're just really negotiating with each other relationally and playing in the woods. And they don't have a ton of toys. They just use sticks and trees. And they do have a box of costumes. So I often see them like creating little stories. But that to me is the neurosomatic integration framework in real life. No jargon. It's just what it is. That's what it is right there.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. It kind of reminds me of the feral nomad kids that I know.
Yeah.
I know a lot of nomad families in buses and vans and all kinds of things. And when you go to any of these like meetups and like just the kids, they're just so feral. Like, but they're also very respectful. They're also
Yeah.
super smart. I mean, they're wild, but they
Yeah.
can navigate just about anything going on in front of them. And in fact,
Yeah.
we can go back to my Tanzania days. I've spent a lot of time in Tanzania, living in villages and I've
Mhm.
researched there. I had a nonprofit there that helped kids go to school. So, I mean, I've spent a lot of time, in Tanzania and the kids there are totally different. You have like a 6-year-old kid taking care of his 2-year-old sister because mama's busy. Mama's farming, mama's doing the laundry,
Yeah.
mama's cooking. Mom does
Hmm.
literally everything
Hmm.
in a
Hmm.
traditional African family. And so,
Hmm.
the kids are just everywhere, but this like 6-year-old kid has every ability to take care of his little sister who's 2 and is able to like
Yeah.
negotiate choices and decisions and like safety and
Hmm.
it's just such a
Hmm.
different world than kids here
Yeah.
because they don't have access to screens really. I mean some do, but I mean, it's just a
Yeah.
different thing. And so
We live,
I get that. Like I can see that just in the places, just in some of the communities I've been in that are not stereotypical, you know,
hey, we're a
Western.
live podcast, and Jeremy looks like he wants to say something. So
Yeah.
Oh,
All
yeah,
right,
sure.
Jeremy.
Hi there.
Hi.
Hi guys. Um, so I work in mental health and I work in a program that's called Road to Home. It's a transitional program. And so these are people that have been in state psychiatric hospitals and I
Mhm.
help them recover and I help them go back into the community. So they're here for a set time of period of time. And so they've done things to their bodies, when they've been out before, and the chemical imbalances and eating the wrong foods and, society, everything, this, that. And then they come here and we're resetting them.
Mhm.
The idea is we're literally resetting them in a
Yeah.
mental health residential. I think you probably understand this.
yeah,
And so we're giving them the right foods and they literally have a diet that they go through. And it's hard because they're so
Mhm.
used to
yeah,
having a different diet before. And then they also, all their social media, they do not have phones.
Yeah.
Social media, I have some that have no idea. They've been in the system 2 years, 2 or 3 years, and they have no idea what AI really is. What's
Yeah.
going on right now with AI and what technology is doing. And so I see this cleansing that's happening, and then we slowly give them some things, over time so that they can transition back into the community and stuff. What's interesting is when, I hear back when they leave, and then we hear from them, is this transition back into our culture.
Mhm.
Now, this is the United States culture. Um, so here in the United States, in the U.S., and they have a tough time because they've been doing
Mhm.
it for so long. I mean, we're
Mhm.
talking 1 to 2 years, as a transition from in a mental health residential facility and stuff. So now we're
And these
kind
are
of rethinking.
adults.
We're
You're
like,
working with
these are
adults?
adults, 20, 30
Yeah.
year olds. Yeah. So it's very interesting, thinking about that because it can be done. And
Mhm.
actually the people that I work with become very happy
Mhm.
and they're much more social. They're much more talking to each other and talking about things
Mhm.
versus being on their phones and locked in. And they're also, you can see their changes, they're mentally and physically, they're much more, there's the clarity is there mentally and physically.
Mhm.
They're able to move around better and mental clarity. I mean, they do have chemical imbalances. So there's, I mean,
Mhm.
schizophrenia, all this stuff, mental illness. But because the what they're putting into their bodies and what they're in an environment where they're just not going to get all these things that are out in our culture. Anyway, so I just wanted to throw that in there. I have to go. I have to go to a dental appointment, but I thought this was a
thanks for
very
popping in.
interesting conversation.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks
Yeah,
for
I'll
being
talk
here,
to you guys
Jeremy.
later.
Thanks, Jeremy.
It's nice meeting you guys. So have a good day. All
Yeah,
right.
you too.
Have a great
Yeah.
day.
Keep it up. Yeah.
Man, he brings up a really good point too, because in in this country, the way that mental health is handled, I've kind of been I have probably more experience than I should with my family history and my father's death and the things I went through as a child. I was kind of through the mental health system in this country a little bit. And when I was in my early 20s, I had a doctor tell me, like, because I checked enough boxes talking to him for like 15 minutes. I had a doctor that said, you have borderline personality disorder. There's no meds for this. There's no treatment for this besides for DBT therapy, and you have it for the rest of your life. I believed that for a long time.
How old were you when they
Uh, uh,
diagnosed?
20 or 21.
Yeah.
Before that, it was bipolar, a bunch of other stuff, right? And granted, I did check enough boxes on certain things to get those diagnoses, but the way they handle it is it's
Well,
always the meds, right? So I
yeah.
became that for a decade.
I mean, as a clinician who has had to do a lot of diagnosing, um, for Medi-Cal to be able to refund, like it's this relationship with the insurance company where I have to diagnose in order to get refunded to be
Yeah.
able to continue the services. It's like Medicaid, but for
Yeah.
California. And I would always look for the least stigmatizing diagnosis that still was accurate, that still reflected. I'm very lucky now because schools contract me directly and I no longer need to diagnose. I can just we do what's called a dynamic formulation that has a much more complex way of understanding the the organization of the person that we're working with. It's like what has happened in this person's life that has resulted in the condition, tendency, or the organization that they have and the way that they navigate their lives. And the way that they're showing up in ways that are harming them and harming the people that they love, right? Because that's part of what gets us to clinical stuff, right? We're showing
Right.
up in ways in our relationships, in our life, that are either self-destructive or harmful to the people that we care about. And then there's intergenerational trauma. And I think, Brendan, you and I have talked a little bit about intergenerational trauma and how we break those cycles of intergenerational trauma. Um, and it's complex, and borderline personality, it's one of those diagnoses that any kind of personality disorder, it's that we believe that it's fixed and can't be changed. I
Yeah.
don't buy that anymore.
No, I did
I
for a
just
long time.
I just don't. And I did too, because that's what I was trained in. That's what
Yeah.
my clinical training was. It is harder to disrupt and reorganize when something is so um pervasive in all of the ways that we're experiencing our lives. So it does take more to be able to create a sense of safety, to create a sense of vulnerability and a safe of connection, to be able to help that person feel safe enough to be able to
Hmm.
reorganize and to have awareness of like, oh, okay, I'm having this, I'm feeling like I want to cuss this person out. I feel like I feel really unsafe. I feel like I'm gonna cuss the guy behind the counter out. Or I feel like my partner's rejecting me because they came in and they were in a bad mood and I'm adding a whole lot of meaning to that. For me, it's like, okay, what is happening on your body? How do you have awareness when your body goes into that protective stance? What is it taking care of?
Hmm.
How are you making your body feel seen and comfortable enough to be able to engage with the tenderness of that feeling of rejection without like being collapsing into it or raging into it?
There's this makes me think of a friend of mine. She has a school community. She does neurosomatic art, and something that she said really like stuck to me. She said, especially for people who have dealt with a lot of trauma in their lives, um, some of the problem with safety is that you don't actually, like, we'll just say love. You don't know what it feels like when
Mm.
you receive it. And so
Yeah.
you don't know how to interact with it any differently because you don't actually recognize what that truly feels like. So you don't
Mhm.
know when real love is right in front of you. You're not going to know because you've
Mhm.
never had it and you've never been able to recognize that before. And
Right.
that was something that, like, when I heard her say that, it just hit me so hard because I was like, yeah, how do you know? You know, how do
Yeah.
you know what unconditional love feels like if you've never experienced it in your whole entire life
Yeah.
before?
Yeah. Or if the love that you did experience was also volatile and conditional.
Well,
And so that
exactly.
when you did
Yeah.
feel the person actually loved you, but they didn't have the capacity to manage their own. And so that love came with other things.
Baggage. Yeah, it
Yeah.
came with it was
Yeah.
damaging
Yeah.
ultimately. And so then how do you recognize it, you know, when you
Right.
come out of that childhood? And that's something that really hit me.
And we talk about safety, but it's really a felt sense of safety. It has nothing to do with how
Actually.
safe you are or how safe you actually are or not. We're talking
Yeah.
about what is that felt sense in my body? So this is back to the
Mhm.
body. Like, how do I feel in my body when I'm experiencing a sense of safety?
Mhm.
And if your nervous system is so keyed up all the time and so used to being on high alert, or is so dissociative and so shut down, like in depression or dissociation, that to be able to experience that felt sense, what does it take to move the energy enough in your body to be able to release some of the stuck places and to like grieve or
Mhm.
to love or to dance or to be joyful. Um, and so Dr. Bruce Perry talks about a sensitized stress response system. And so the more and the sensitizing pattern. So it's about dosing and spacing of stress. So if you have a really sensitized stress response system, your body has gotten really used to being responding quickly to stress through anger or dissociation, through collapse. For the language of somatics is collapse and fight. The language of NMT or neurosequential model is hyperarousal, hypoarousal, or dissociation. There's all kinds of language, but basically it's like are we like fighting towards or are we shutting down?
Mhm.
And the more used to those things your body, the more practiced you are, the
Yeah.
more practice you have at being reactive or the more practice you have at dissociating and shutting down, the smaller dose of stress it takes to get to that point. So,
Yeah.
in order to move from a sensitized stress response system, you really need to like slow it down and have small doses of tolerable doses of stress over time that allows your body to experience a dose of stress, recover, experience another dose of stress, recover. And if you do that over time, it's a resiliency building pattern where you become more able to manage greater and greater doses of healthy stress.
That's interesting. So how does that look in practice though? Like how do
Yeah.
you introduce that little bit of stress or maybe do you recognize it at a certain point and take action at that point?
Yeah.
How does that work?
So it depends on age, developmental situation. But for example, if you're a kid and you're in school and in class, you may be smart enough to do the most complex math. But if your stress response system is so sensitized that you feel a little bit of stress, you look at the paper and all the problems are there and it overwhelms your nervous system and you're like, fuck it, I can't do it. And you're out a way to manage that would be like, okay, I'm going to give you one problem. Let's just do that one. Take your
Yeah.
time, and then we'll take a break. Or it's I'm going to stand in proximity. What proximity feels good to you? Is it, are
Mhm.
you stressed out when I'm too close? Are you stressed out when I'm really far away? Like, what's the distance that's going to help your nervous system feel safe? So we'll start there and then we'll get either a little bit closer or a little bit further away, depending. Or, so those are just some of the small examples. If you, you don't like to try new foods or you know like you like to have your regimen and if things need to be the same every day all the way otherwise it stresses you out, you might like disrupt one little thing and be like, okay, how did that sit in your nervous system? What are the ways you manage that? Where did you notice it sensation wise? All right, how do we get back to center? And so, from the somatic perspective, and this is what I'm doing with the neurosomatic integration is like we trying to weave together these different theoretical frameworks that I've been trained in to have one cohesive way of understanding this, and it's still evolving. But with Strozzi somatics, we center to get present, open, connected, and on purpose. And then from that place, we do that to be able to have more choice. And so in this spiral model, we start with rooting. I had regulation at first, and I've changed it to rooted because that feels a little bit more. Um, I'm concerned that regulation has turned into just calm down and don't feel bad.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of a buzzword right now. Are you
Yeah.
regular? It's like, what? I want to throw a
Yeah.
chair when you say that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And when I started using regulation, it was not a thing.
Yeah.
And now, like 25, 30 years later, everybody's talking about regulation. So I've shifted to be rooted, and what we
Yeah.
root to create more space to be present with what is. You know what? I'm feeling really angry right now. Or I'm feeling really sad, or I'm feeling really whatever it is, joyful, whatever the feeling is, but I'm creating more space to create to be with what is
Hmm.
without moving out of choice, without moving out of the sort of cohesiveness in my body, and to be able to say, okay, I'm feeling really angry right now, and I know that because like I'm feeling some tightness here in my chest, my face is a little flush, my feet are balled, my hands are balled up, and I'm feeling a desire to like lunge at you. Right. And so I'm going to feel my feet. I'm going to feel my center. I'm going to feel my length, and I'm going to really lean into my dignity. I'm going to like presence my dignity in this moment. And I'm going to presence the dignity of the person I'm really pissed off at. And I'm going to presence their dignity and their humanity. And I'm still going to be really angry, but I'm going to do it from a place of connection and mutual respect.
Hmm.
And then I have choice from there. How do I choose to move through my anger in a way that, if it's an intimate relationship, keeps me in relationship? If it's someone I'm not in an intimate relationship with, how does it protect me or move on from that relationship? But I'm doing it from choice. I'm choosing not to let this person, like, who gives a shit about the guy in the other car? I don't know
Yeah.
you. I'm never going to meet you.
Doesn't matter.
It
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You're human. I recognize your humanity. You cut me off. It was really a bad move, but whatever.
Yeah.
Or I might choose to be like, you know what? It's going to feel really good to give him the finger, and I'm choosing to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, but
Sometimes
and
without
again, it's about the choice of it, and I
It's
think that
about the
that's the
choice.
most important thing is that you feel like there's even a choice to
Yeah.
have, because sometimes, especially in reactionary situations, it doesn't feel like there's any choice. It feels like
Mm-mm.
that it doesn't feel like anything. It happens.
Yeah.
So, yeah, to feel that choice, and maybe that's what that goes back to feeling safety. And not it's
Yeah.
not safety necessarily, but it's feeling safety.
Yeah.
Same kind of idea.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, in some places it's not really safe to give that guy the finger.
No, I mean, I
I
live in
live in
Florida.
Oakland. There are times that, it's
Yeah.
just there. It may not, I'm having to teach my husband that sometimes. Like,
Yeah.
do you really have to, you don't know that person?
Yeah. You never know what kind of day that person's having.
yeah. And you got Florida man running around all over, so you got to be careful
Yeah.
too.
You got Florida. Florida's
It
an
is.
interesting place.
It
You
is
never
an
know.
interesting place indeed. I don't know
Yeah.
any other way. And I am a born Floridian, and so I am allowed to talk shit about it. But it is absolutely, it's wild out there. It is
Yeah.
wild out there. I mean, don't get me wrong. We go to the grocery store, we have a normal day, but let me just say, like, even when you just go to the grocery store, you are gonna see something. I mean, or
Yeah.
there's gonna be something that walks by you that you're like, ow. Like you just don't know what's gonna happen. And you just hope that your drive there is gonna be nice and peaceful.
Hmm.
And I don't know. I don't know. Like it's a wild place.
I seen a
Yeah.
video one time where a guy just like he got a charge because he walked into like he robbed a liquor store holding an alligator. And like
Oh yeah, no, I'm sure that's happened. Yeah.
yeah,
I watched a couple of those shows. It's Florida Man, but
yeah.
that was the last. I was only watched one or two of them, and I was like, this is beyond.
It's
And
crazy.
I mean, it's crazy. I said it's Oakland, but Oakland's really a beautiful, amazing place to live with lots of amazing people. And I think at this point, and it gets back to where we are in our culture, we just don't, people are really disconnected and they're angry.
Yep.
You just really don't know anywhere in this
Yeah.
country.
That's very
Um,
true. I mean, and yeah, there's a lot of, I mean, obviously there are a lot of lovely people here.
yeah.
I love a whole lot of people here. I keep
Yeah.
ending up here, like so, and it's beautiful, especially the middle of the state is gorgeous. The trees with all the Spanish moss hanging down. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just such beautiful land. I mean, it's disappearing, but it's beautiful right now, at least.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah,
That's
we
the
have some
sad
crazy
part.
stuff
It's
here too.
disappearing.
It's disappearing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And man, I've been looking up like what they want, like plans, right? And in the next like 30 to 50 years, like nothing crazy long, eh, pretty much like Dubai is right now. Everything in big, huge buildings where everything you need is basically in like a building. That's how the cities are going to be. Like you're going to live in a huge skyrise that the grocery store's there, the mall's there. You
Yeah.
order everything on your phone and it comes to wherever you live. Like that's where everything is kind of going, unless you try to get out away from that. And they say a lot of small communities in rural areas will pop up, farm
Yes,
communities and stuff.
and I'm trying to. Yes, I'm not saying that that is a potential future, and it's also potential that like condensed space leaves more land because people do. If we have all these people, we need places to live, and so looking at it from that perspective. But there's a book called "What If We Get It Right."
Yeah.
I highly recommend reading it. It's very hopeful. It brings a lot of hope to the to what's possible. And it's an environmental book, and she just interviews like each chapter has different folks doing amazing things
Yeah.
that could potentially save the world. And I can go down that road of like we are fucked. And I'm choosing right now to look for the spaces of like, well, what if we're not?
A lot of
Yeah.
us have the right ideas. Communities,
Yeah,
human to human work. That's
yeah,
what it's going to be. It's going to be
absolutely.
communities of like-minded people helping each other, supporting each other. Everybody does their thing that is like that they're really good at, their gift, and then people
Yeah,
work together. That's where it's
yeah,
going. So
yeah,
the people, those of us who are kind of maybe ahead of that curve and
yeah,
another, like you guys said, the fields of people with buses and stuff. People ahead of that curve are gonna be able to have connections, thrive,
right.
have access to clean food because people
Yeah,
are, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's the future. And there's a lot of hope in humans coming together.
yeah. And it's not toxic positive. It's not pretending that we aren't in a dire situation environmentally and collectively. I'm fully aware we are, but I just am like, okay, how do we elevate these spaces where people are really doing it? They're doing amazing things.
Yeah.
There's like Soulfire Farm, and there's really amazing stuff happening right now at the same time as all this other terrible stuff is happening.
Well, because
And
Well,
it's awesome because the people go, I'm sick of the terrible stuff. How do we
right.
make this better? And a lot of
Yes.
those companies are doing well.
Yeah.
yeah, I think that, we I'm in an alternative lifestyle,
Mhm.
obviously, and I kind of accidentally decided on this alternative lifestyle. It was my cat, really. But anyway, that's what happened. And you know, ultimately, the idea is to be able to go find my people, right?
Yeah.
Go find my people, go find the place, go find maybe it's multiple places, and maybe it's people who are all just kind of traveling around and figuring it out, go see the world, not be stuck in one spot in some city somewhere. And I appreciate that there are beautiful things in cities too. I actually love cities.
Yeah. I love
I
cities.
love the people watching. I love airports. I
Mhm.
love to be in an airport. I love traveling any kind of way I can travel. I love it. Um, but it's almost like we because we're all specializing right now anyway in this big giant society we're in. So it's not like
Hmm.
it's the specialization, like where I do my thing to contribute and this person does their thing to contribute, because we're already doing that technically in
Hmm.
our system in some sort of way. I think though that the more I think about it, the more I think that it's like the micro community. And
Yeah.
that's what it's about. Because I think
Hmm.
a lot of us, like I can speak from my experience, I don't have any family anymore.
Mm.
I mean, I have like a couple of cousins, or I have some cousins out there. I haven't talked to them in years. We have no contact. I have a sister I haven't talked to in years, and there
Mm.
are, and then a lot of family who's passed away. And so there's no family. And I know once I start to open up to people and talk to people about that, I know so many other people who have exactly the same situation going on somehow,
Mhm.
because we've
Yeah.
all just somehow separated from each other. And so I think, for me, it's finding that micro community. It's
Yeah.
finding that group of 10 people that are your no matter what's. Um, and if shit, it's finding one person that's that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's just as much of a challenge as finding 10 of them, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it's that desire to just have that, like, ride or die, like
Yeah.
these are my humans. We're all going to make sure that we are all okay. Number
Yeah.
one, and then we're going to take care of everybody else. But let's just make sure that we're okay. And I see so many people like me looking for the same thing I'm looking for. And we all just like wave at each other and talk to
Yeah.
each other and talk about it. And then
Yeah.
we just kind of go on our ways and we don't do it, you
Yeah.
know? Um, so
Yeah. I feel really lucky. I'm coming up on 30 years with my partner, with my husband.
that's
25
amazing.
married,
Goodness.
30 combined, and
That's
and the two
phenomenal.
kids, and I have siblings that I don't talk to all the time, but we're close. So I feel really lucky that I do have family, but I also have my chosen family here, and know that I'm really close to, in addition to my husband. And then my kids are now gone. My son moved to Brooklyn and my daughter to LA. So, it's time to connection is what you're talking about. That like feeling of belonging, that sense of
Hmm.
connection, that sense of home wherever you are, whether it's like traveling or in a specific place. We all are longing for that like sense of belonging, sense of connection, sense of
Hmm.
purpose.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
have more access to everything than we've ever had. And
Mhm.
loneliness is an epidemic in
Yeah.
this whole world.
Yep.
And we all
Hmm.
have ADHD,
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's why I can't imagine why, all of us. I mean, I'm 40. I'll be 45 in a week and a half. And so I'm like right in that age where I'm turning feral, super feral, real fast,
Yeah.
But the people within 10 years of me on either side are all just like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Like, what are
I love that you use fair. I'm 56, and I love that you use feral because when I was a kid, I'm one of five. My siblings called me Lucan, boy raised by wolves, who was feral, who was like a wild feral child because I was feral. I was in the woods, no shoes, maybe a
Uh-huh.
shirt if someone made
I
me
knew
put one
I was as
on.
a kid.
Um, Yeah, so you use feral a few times. It definitely feels like
Yeah.
home, to me, but
Yeah.
it's
It's
that
a
I
thing
don't
for
care
sure.
anymore. I'm who I
Hmm.
am, and
Hmm.
I am connecting in ways that are authentic and real. And when we think about somatic, right, like really that's when we're listening to our bodies
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we're taking lead from, and I think with Brandon with food and nutrition, we have lost our ability to be able to recognize what our body is needing. And it's like, oh, people used to be able to say, oh, I need iron. I can feel I'm missing this. So
Yeah.
and be able to sense into it. And we've lost that intuitive sense, which is again back to somatics of like, how do I start to grow awareness of my aliveness in my body?
Yeah.
The recognition of what am I doing to cut that off, or to make myself small, or to make myself safe, or to make myself comforted with shitty food, um,
Hmm.
or alcohol or drugs or whatever else. Mm.
I
Yeah.
feel like nowadays, like addiction, what used to always get such a stigma, right? And if you're still giving addiction a stigma, look in the mirror because every single one of us is addicted to something. There
Something.
are too much screens, too much sugar, too much, you name it. Like there's something that we can't stop every day because we're just in a habit and a pattern that is having a detrimental effect on us. Every
Mhm.
single person, whether it be from the lights to the sounds to the
Yeah.
food, it's insane. It's like it's really eye-opening that how, like I said, our bodies can be hijacked. We have all these things going on. We don't even notice. We get stuck in
Yeah.
patterns of the bad food. And now I'm not releasing the chemicals I need. So I get on a medication to help me feel better with my problems. And it doesn't actually make the problem better.
Mhm.
So all of that can seem super scary. But when you get to go kind of like, like you are, right? When you're listening to your body, it'll tell you a lot. And if you can eat right, keep things simple, hydrate, take care of lean into yourself with the somatic stuff like you're talking about. Simple things like that can help you get back on track. And I
Yeah.
bet a lot of us have had to learn it the hard way. I was stuck in patterns for years that were destroying me.
Yeah. Well, we're always, I mean, the
Oh, I am.
Strozy we're always practicing something. Always. We are always practicing something. And it takes 300 reps of something in order to like understand it. It
Yep.
takes 3,000 reps in order to embody it.
Yep.
And
Mhm.
so when once it's embodied, we no longer have to pay attention. It becomes a part of us. And so we have embodied all of these ways of being that are not great for us. So
Mhm.
what are you practicing? If we get down to the question is what is it that you're practicing? And is that aligned with what you're longing for, what your purpose is, what you want your relationships to be, what you want your life to be? And if it's not, then it's identifying, well, what is it that I am longing for? What is it that is my purpose? And what practices can I put in place every day? What, like meditation, walks, drinking water, eating healthy, pausing, singing, dancing, turning off the scrolling, whatever it is that you're recognizing as something you've been practicing that has become embodied. What practices can you put into place to disembody that?
Yeah.
That practice that is not serving you anymore.
I've, I've had to do it. I work online. I
Yeah.
know how bad screen time is for our brains. I know firsthand, right? And I work online, and there's times where, well, I have to do this. I have to do this. I have to be in the call. I have to be on my phone at night, right in my head. And then it's going, oh, wait, why is my nervous system shot at 7 p.m.? And why am I not feeling good? It's because I have too much screen time. I have too much eyes on the lights, on the blue lights and stuff. And that, not recognizing that, even for somebody that knows this is
Yeah.
bad, can be detrimental. This has been so fun, Susan. Christina, I
Yeah.
think we need to have her back on here again someday soon.
Just all the time. We're just gonna come hang out with you all the time on here.
Awesome. I would
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah. I
Yes.
would love that too. Let's do it.
And next week, on next week's episode, we're going to find out how Christina's cat talked her into being a bus lifer.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can totally talk about that next week. Totally happened. I might have talked about that already once, but we can.
I think it when we
We can
did
do
your
it.
summit call or
Yeah, that
something.
makes
Yeah,
some
when we
sense.
did something, we talked about it. Susan, thanks so much for stopping in.
Yeah.
Where can we find you? YouTube,
You
Facebook?
can find, well, not so much on YouTube, Facebook and LinkedIn, but mainly Skool, and my Skool community is probably the best way. I'm there posting, but I'm really hoping to hear if you have something that you are curious about, something that I said, something that you'd like to know more about, put it in there. We're in the process of curating a whole catalog of trainings that will launch. There's stuff in the classroom right now, but it's kind of all over the place. We will be launching a full catalog of continuing education courses in the school classroom in the fall because Hope Reimagine is a continuing education provider for mental health providers. The courses are great for everybody, but if you are a mental health provider who needs to get continuing education credits for your license in the state of California, and then there are a few other states, that's happening. But school's the best place. I am on LinkedIn. I am on Facebook,
I
sort
say
of.
it the same way. That's so if you're like, I am on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
I saw it.
I'm there
I
because
feel
I
it. I
have to
feel you, girl.
be.
I know. I feel that so much. What is the
Uh,
name of your community?
Rooted, Hope Reimagine Rooted.
Okay.
And you need to be on YouTube, even if it's just for 5 minutes saying, hey, if you're a mental health professional, come get
I
your
know.
credits. Like you need to be.
I know. I need to like figure out the marketing piece soon. I also I do have coaching. We're going to be launching I do somatic coaching. So I will be also in the fall launching a coaching group. Right now I do individual coaching, somatic coaching with 10 session arc. And I only take 2 clients at a time because I have a million other things going on. And I'm currently have 3 clients. So I'm working on they're almost done. They're almost done with their 10 session arc. So if you are interested, I do both in person and Zoom somatic coaching.
Awesome.
Man,
That's amazing. I love that.
well, thanks for stopping by today, Susan. It's been awesome. Follow us on, we are on Skool. Evergreen Foundations is where we host the podcast. We have YouTube. Give us a subscribe. We will be on there. And soon I'm going to get us back on Spotify and Apple. I've been kind of taking my time nurturing our YouTube a little bit better. So give us a subscribe, follow. I'm upgrading the community tab. If you guys want to share stuff Christina and I should talk about, maybe you want to be a guest, share it on our YouTube and I'll reach out. Until next time, next week, Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern, I'm Brandon Kramer from Evergreen Foundations.
I'm Christina Joy from Chaos to Clarity Lab.